Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I am solo act this week. Bill will be back with me next month, but I have a really amazing topic for you this week. So it'll just be you and me here today. Have you ever heard of reality shifting, quantum jumping? Maybe it's new to you, or maybe it's something you know a lot about. Or maybe for you, it's you've always wondered about it. Like, okay, how do I do that? And is it even a real thing? So today's show, we're going to talk all about reality shifting and quantum jumping, but in a way I'll bet you've never heard before. So I'll make a bold opening statement. Did you know that if you can shift out of lower level emotional states, lower level predominant emotional states, that you can shift reality instantly? I know it sounds like a massive claim, but stay with me for a moment and it'll make perfect sense to you. So first, what's a lower level emotional state? And why am I saying lower level? What I really mean is lower energy level. David Hawkins wrote a book about exactly this, and he created a scale called the map of consciousness, where he measured energy states in the body around emotional feelings, emotional states. So the map actually starts at shame, and it's measured at a 20 on the scale. But what it really means is that it gobbles your energy down to a 20. So you really only have this small amount of energy available in your body. Now, conversely, enlightenment is up at 700 or 1,000 on this scale, meaning you have massive, massive amounts of energy. In fact, more energy in that state than a human body normally has. So it moves up the scale like this. So guilt is at 30. Guilt is actually higher than shame. Apathy is 50. Grief is 70. Fear is 100. So if you jumped from shame to fear, you've already jumped 70 points, and that's massive. When Dr. Hawkins wrote this book, he would say that most people don't jump more than 5 points or in a lifetime, I think. Don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure that was the number, but it was this really small number. His idea was that most people don't shift out of their predominant emotional state ever. We all know people like this who just don't move. They just don't change at all. And so David Hawkins said that at that point, when he wrote this book, most of the planet was like this. We just didn't know how to shift and change. We're actually in an era where people are changing rapidly, though, and the possibility of changing is bigger. So above fear is 125, it's desire, and anger is above that 150. That's hard to understand that desire would be above anger, but when you realize what desire is, kind of thwarted wanting, it's full of disappointment and craving, you understand why anger then has more energy, because it has a lot more movement. Disappointment doesn't have a lot of movement in it. More energy in anger. Pride has more anger than that. You wouldn't think that would be considered a lower level energy. But when you think about most wars are fought around pride, national pride, you realize where it could become an issue. Pride is demanding and scornful, judgmental. Courage is above that. And courage is actually right at the middle of the scale, but it's still in like the yellow range. It's still a lower. It's because you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. It's half fear and half woohoo. So it's one of those that that's just on the border. So above that is neutrality. In neutrality, there's trust and there's satisfaction. It's at 250. It's my opinion that at neutrality, true neutrality, where you realize that most of the things everybody else is doing on the planet have nothing to do with you, that your power comes from being absolutely neutral and letting everybody just do what they're going to do, and you do what you're going to do. You stay in your lane, you have your power. At neutrality, it opens the gateway. It actually makes enlightenment possible. This is really true. You can't get there until you find a way to be truly neutral. It's almost a hands off of everybody else kind of a place, even those who have wronged you intensely, immensely. It's like, okay, all right, I see it all. I see it all going on. And, I'm just going to be here who I am and be whole in myself. It's amazing, that level. It's one of my favorites, as you can tell. It's a 250. Above that, you've got willingness. I believe that willingness is an emotional state. It really is. If you think about being willing to change your life, willing to allow people to be who they are, you can feel that it's a higher level emotion. There's optimism and hope there, hopefulness. Above that is 350. It's acceptance, forgiveness, harmony starts to happen. Forgiveness at the level of 350 is something completely different. It really means you can give everything back before it came. It's not yours anyway. Somebody else's things, somebody else's problems. It's a place where you literally detach your energy from things that came before, and they can no longer hold you back. Do you realize that's what forgiveness really is detaching yourself from something that's holding you back? That's all it is. It's like you let it go, you unhitch your wagon, and you walk away without it. That's what forgiveness really is. And it's a huge misnomer in the spiritual consciousness world. Talk about that on another show. You guys remind me about that. It's a big deal, though. And it happens in a higher level energy state. At 400, we have reason. Reason is a big deal. We have understanding. There's meaning in life. There's meaning in every little thing that happens. There's juice in it. There's a joy in it as well, in this kind of understanding. It's a kind of understanding that's like an epiphany. You're like, aha, I see what this world is really, really about at this level. It's an amazing place to be. Above that is 500, love or above. If you're familiar at all with the law of one material, or even maybe what Jesus would have been talking about, if that's somebody that you are interested in, they're talking about this 500 vibrational state. It's the big L, it's the universal love, and it's the place in which there's real reverence. We don't feel or even talk about reverence in our society very much, but there are things that we absolutely revere, that we hold deeply sacred. And when you have universal love, you hold everything sacred. You see the light in another human, even a criminal, even someone that's wronged you terribly. You see the light in them as a human being. And you understand, because understanding came before it, what they are and who they are. And you still have the big universal love for them anyway. You understand that it's all connected and it's all going to be okay. It's amazing. Everything is benign at that place. There is no harm in your body, in your heart, and your mind at 500. At 540, there's joy. And I always say joy is love with a side of fun. If you think about it, if you get yourself to a place where you are absolutely spectacularly loving what's going on in your life, everyone around you, and you throw in a side of fun, you throw in a giggle fest, you throw in something that cracks you up, and you end up with joy. At our last Cogno Conscious event, we got to this level of joy. And at this level, a volleyball game literally broke out at the back of a consciousness event. This is a really hard event. It's fun, but kind of serious. A volleyball game broke out with adult humans in the back room. It was hilarious. People were laughing in a joyful way like children. If you can remember how joyfully you laughed, how easy, how freely you played when you were a kid, as an adult, you don't do that very much anymore, but as a kid, you did. This level is like that. If you ever known a truly joyful human, somebody who's just joyful, they're always fun. They're a fun human. So joy is love plus fun. It's at 540. There's serenity there. Serenity. Everything feels complete. You just feel whole. And you feel like who you really came to the planet to be. You feel like who you really are in this life. It's interesting when you become whole and become who you came to the planet to be, more of who you really are. At this place, reality is a brand new thing. At every one of these levels, reality is a brand new thing every time you break through one. That's why I wanted to share this with you guys today. Because even at the lowest level of shame, if you can shift from shame to guilt, you shift your reality. Absolutely shift the reality that you are living in. Peace is above that. Peace is at 600. Peace is where bliss and perfection live. Peace is where bliss and perfection live. It's a vibration in the body. It's not a mindset. It really is this radiation from your physical body, from your nervous system. It's a state in which the body is so free of the emotional baggage that we've collected throughout our lives, lifetime, maybe many lifetimes, that there's a kind of quiet, a peacefulness. But this peacefulness is not like a monk sitting on a hill. It's full of fun and joy. It's full of love. It's full of reason. It's even full of courage. It's full of everything. And so it's quite vibrant. I used to think, I don't want to sit around on a hill like a monk. That's boring. I want to do stuff. I want to experience this life. But experiencing something like Niagara Falls or the Grand Canyon or an amazing cathedral in Sicily at the state of peace, where your emotional baggage is really was left at the airport long ago, deleted from your current physical system. Your nervous system is what I'm talking about. That is an experience beyond anything, because you can appreciate it absolutely wholehearted, fully, as not only yourself, but as the universe. It's like the whole universe is looking through you at this beautiful moment in time, this beautiful thing. Enlightenment is at 700 to 1,000. And really, when David Hawkins wrote this book, he didn't believe people really could get there, like maybe 1% of the planet, if that, a fraction of a percent. But now with the energy the way it is, I know it's rough, but actually there's a possibility for these higher level vibrations because the energy of the planet is changing. And enlightenment is something so interesting, because at Cogno Conscious, we really do get a chance to experience it. But what it is, you'd be surprised. It's this place where all of a sudden, it's like the blinders are off and you say, oh, that's what this is all about. Oh my gosh, I remember now. You almost laugh to yourself. Now, most people don't stay there, because if you did, you can't live in this world. And if you're in this world, you probably still have work to do to help the planet shift, or many other things, actually, things you just wanted to experience in this lifetime. You still need to be able to connect with those around you. And at the level of enlightenment, it's a little bit harder to connect. But once you have experienced it, you can return there again and again. And there's so much resource in that place. So we're already up against our first break. Let's hear from our sponsors. And when we come back, I'll share with you what this has to do with shifting your reality and how you can actually do it, how you can experience a reality shift really almost whenever you choose. So we'll be right back.
Hey, it's Bill. Are you sick and tired of being worried all the time? Being afraid all the time? There's something you can do about it. Take your free class, cognomovement.com/fear.
And we're back. It's just me, Liz Larson here, on a little solo show for the day. And I'm talking about how you can shift reality by shifting out of lower level emotional states. So, as I said in the beginning of the show, a low level emotional state is really just a state in which your emotions, the predominant pattern in your nervous system, is at a very, very low energy, or at a state in which all of your energy is being used by that heavy emotion. So let me say that again. You're in a place where all of your physical horsepower, your energy, is being used by this big, heavy emotion that gobbles it up, and you have very little energy left over for life. So shame is the lowest, and we talked about that in the last segment. So if you're looking through the lens of shame, you're going to see the world as though shame is in it everywhere. Shame will color every picture you see in life, everything your eyes set sights on, everything you taste, everything you touch, everything you feel, every human you meet will be seen through this predominant emotional pattern of shame because it's so heavy. And those of you who have this one, those of you who relate to shame in your life, realize that it's all consuming. And when it's all consuming, you can only see what's in that box. That's it. And it becomes your reality. So people around you who are not vibrating at that level, who are not experiencing a neurological, physiological, nervous system pattern of shame, they see other things. The world looks completely different to them. They won't be able to understand at all why you can't pick yourself up and get going. They can't see it. They see you through their lens. So let's say that you have a person who actually, is more around willingness or acceptance in their life. And they see you and you're at the level of shame. They see you through the level of acceptance. They're like, hey, I can see your potential. I can see what you need to do. I don't care what happened in your past. Come on, get up. Let's go. Let's do this thing. And you at the level of shame, you're like, I can't move. Why don't you see how terrible my life is? Why don't you see how awful I am? There's a complete mismatch. And who's right and who's wrong? The person at the level of willingness or acceptance, their life, their reality, the rules of their life are completely different than yours, and vice versa. So if you can shift out of shame and even up the ladder into apathy, apathy is a terrible place to be, but it has more energy in it than shame, because at apathy, at least I don't care for the moment. You're really just in despair, but you're not down in humiliation. Even that little shift will change your reality, because now everything you taste, touch, see, hear, experience is through the new lens of apathy. And I know it sounds terrible, but it really is. There's more momentum. There's more available energy to live life. And that's what we're talking about, the available energy. When you have more energy, and you guys all know this, think about a time in your life when you kind of had a lot of energy. You know, things seemed to be flowing and you were able to get your butt out of bed and do stuff, get things done. You know that the world looked different then, and you know that it seemed like opportunities were there and possibilities were there. And then something happened that triggered your emotional baggage, opened an old suitcase or a new one, and then you stuck your head in that suitcase of shame, and you've only been able to see what's inside it since. You know that there's a possibility of more energy. You just can't figure out how to get there. So this is why being able to change the emotional, your predominant emotional state, makes reality change. So let's bump up a little bit. Let's bump from shame into fear, like we talked about earlier, 70 points up, where, you know, now you're a little anxious, a little scared, but you've got momentum. You can move. Well, there's a lot of energy usually in anxiety. The unfortunate thing is your body utilizes it by spinning around and around, but there's energy there where there wasn't in shame. At fear, you are now in a new reality. The goggles in which your VR goggles in which you are looking through, I know I've got a lot of mixed metaphors here, are completely different. And now you're going to see the world through them, and you're going to see opportunities in a new way. You're going to see other humans in a new way. This is the most amazing thing. When you shift yourself, it appears as though everyone around you is different. Like the people in your life are acting better, the people at work are acting better, people aren't cutting you off on the street, you're not being cut off at the grocery store, you're not getting the cranky clerk at the grocery store. It absolutely appears as though reality has shifted, and it has. This is not a metaphoric reality shift. This is a real reality shift. Who you become is a new human, a different person, even if you've jumped from shame to fear. Now imagine you're at fear, you're living your life in fear, and then you jump up into 150, which is anger. Well, anger has 50 points more energy, right? There is more, go for it. Have you ever been really, really pissed off? Think about the kind of energy you have. I mean, you're on a mission. You might be out there to kick somebody's butt, and it might not be a good feeling, but it certainly doesn't feel like shame where there's no energy. It feels like go and maybe burn the house down. There's a lot of energy there. Shockingly, it's a higher consciousness level because a lot more can get done. You can see more. In anger, you can actually see possibilities for what to do about that anger that you would not have been able to see before. Interesting, right? Interesting that momentum is in anger, where it may not be in grief, it may not be in apathy, it may not be in guilt, but it is in anger. You ever known an angry person who gets a lot done? They do. It may not be good things that they get done, but they get a lot done. And through this lens, you see life differently. You see people that are probably also angry too, but maybe getting a lot done. You run into life through the lens of anger. It's a completely different reality from shame. Now, if you bump up into courage, if you actually get to a place where you're in courage, at courage, you're at 300, and there is a massive, massive, massive change in reality when you have this much energy going. Courageous people, you're at 50-50. You can get things done. Absolutely. You go for it, but you're right there in the middle. So it doesn't always work out amazing, but you're at least willing to try. And at courage, there's a whole realm of possibility. And you can see those possibilities pretty clearly. You still might have some fear about it, but you can also see yourself getting there. You really can see yourself having some success. So you're willing to try. And that is a completely new mindset. It's a completely new way to see the world and experience the world. This is what we're talking about, a reality shift. What is it? It's that one moment the world looks this way and acts this way, and the next moment it looks this way and acts that way. And it's all about how you experience it. It's all about how it comes into your nervous system and then how you react through that same nervous system. So you know where I'm going with this, you guys. If you've been listening for a while, you know that Bill and I talk about changing the nervous system. So your body gets in a pattern of shame, of guilt, of apathy, of grief, of fear, because of things it's experienced before in life. And then it uses them, it overlays them onto the current situation. So for that reason, talk about reality shift. Most of us are always living in the past. We're living in the past through the lens of some hurt that happened to us sometime before. And most of the time, we don't even remember what those hurts are, or we've got it wrong. We remember it through a lens of childhood or even of trauma, like you were hurt in a moment. And now you remember that moment from your 4 or 5 or 6-year-old brain. And then you assume that whoever was around you was the person who perpetrated that particular trauma. And now you take that with you, you put it in a suitcase, you take it with you daily, and then you put it on top of everything that's happening now. It becomes your reason for everything you do, think, or know in life. If you think about it that way, if you're living through that lens of the past and maybe an incorrect memory, and you've put it on now, think about how much that could actually be holding you back, and also how you're not seeing the truth of the life you're actually in. You're not. You're basically seeing a lie that your nervous system is telling you, really to keep you safe, guys. Its nervous system is not the enemy, but it's telling you a lie about a thing that happened way in your past and how it applies to this moment. When you can break free of that, then the moment becomes something entirely different. We're up against our next break. And when we come back, let's talk about the how you can shift a whole level of reality and start to climb out of the lens that you're looking through now and see the world in a better and better and better way. Hey, it's Liz. Have you noticed that fear is everywhere? You're being bombarded with it on the TV, on the radio, through social medias, and it's taking over your mind, your heart, your consciousness. There's something you can do about it right now. Join us for a free class to clear the fear at cognomovement.com/fear. Shifting by changing your predominant emotional state or pattern, and really by changing how your nervous system is reacting. So the nervous system is there to protect you, to keep you safe. It really is. That's its job. But it gets things wrong, and it doesn't have a way to interpret time. It always thinks that it's in the past where you had a situation, where you had an experience, and it's utilizing that to interpret the now. It's your lens, like I said before. So how do we get our nervous system to change? It's really quite simple. You have to re-educate the nervous system. And the nervous system is not your mind. Your brain is a part of it, but it's really every bit of your physical body combined with your consciousness. Now, your consciousness is really just the awareness that you've come to so far with age an experience, and it's colored by all of those experiences. And it also has some discernment that's unavailable to you at different lower levels of nervous system reactivity. So the nervous system needs to be accessed through the physical body. So in Cognomovement, we do it through the eyes. We do it through the emotion, the feeling of the emotion, and we do it through other things like physical touch and moving the body. Bill always says the eyes, the brain, the spinal cord are all one unit. So to access the brain, we use the eyes. It's the only way to look at the brain is through the eyes, unless you've got an MRI machine or a CAT scan. So we look at the eyes and we utilize the eyes to help change one end of the nervous system, the brain. The other end is, your fingers, your toes, your skin, because they are constantly taking in the world around you. And then the emotional state, that feeling in your gut, that feeling in your heart, that feeling in your throat, that throb at the back of your head, that feels like shame, fear, guilt, apathy, grief, desire, anger, pride. You know these feelings, but you don't really often isolate them. So there's two things you can do right now. And if you're hearing my voice, you're ready to hear this. The first thing is you become acutely aware of how you feel in the moment. What that does is it actually starts to separate you from it, because you're looking at yourself, you're looking at the reaction your body is having from a little bit of a distance, to the point at which you can sort of evaluate it. So where are you on the scale that we just talked about? Are you in fear? Are you in guilt? Are you in grief? Are you in desire? Are you at anger? Are you pride? Or maybe at courage? And think about, what is your predominant feeling? What is it? Do you go around with a rock in the pit of your stomach all the time? Do you go around with a little anxiety in your chest? Do you feel your throat constricting? You're not able to speak your voice? Do you find weight on the top of your head when you really want something so badly, but it's not happening? Do you feel weight or heaviness or tension in your shoulders when, you really are feeling quite proud of where you are and quite judgmental about where someone else is? Notice how you feel predominantly. Now, for a lot of you, you'll say, well, this is just me. This is how I feel, but it isn't. It's just a neurological pattern that is sending a signal in this very unique way. When you can recognize it, you've already started to transcend it. Isn't that amazing? So wherever you can stop in the moment and recognize the feeling that you are experiencing and the meaning your mind is making up about it, you've already started to unwind it. So let me clarify, every feeling that you have, every emotion, it informs your brain, your mind, not vice versa. Because your nervous system needs to evaluate what everything means, and it wants to keep you safe. So it's going to attach to something in your past to interpret the now. But if you can catch it doing that, it will immediately start to evaporate. So notice you. How do you feel? How do you feel when you're in the car, driving to work or to the store? How do you feel when you're first out of bed? Physically. Notice it. Take a big deep breath and actually let it expand a little bit, that feeling that's kind of predominantly with you all the time. Breathe into it. Let it be there. Really let it be there. Hold your breath a little. Let it be there some more. Feel it, feel it, feel it, and let it out. You've already started unwinding it. Just even one more level. Just a little bit, because you just looked at it. And with a big deep breath, you just told your nervous system, oh, hey, By the way, we're not in fight or flight right now. I know that there's that memory playing out from the past, but hey, guess what? We're not there. We're here. We're now. All right, next, take a good look around your room. Notice where you are right now. If you are hearing my voice, you are likely safe. You know, there's a radio playing somewhere. You're okay. Notice your okayness in the moment, your physical safety in the moment. All right, let's do it again. Notice what is the predominantly you feeling in your body? The one that doesn't feel amazing all the time. The one that feels like, because I feel like this, I can't go for the job. I can't go for the relationship. I can't get out of the relationship I'm in. I can't make more money. That feeling of I can't correlates with one of these lower physical emotions. Notice what yours is. You're doing great, you guys. The fact that you notice at all, you're starting to unwind these patterns. You have the ability now to unwind the patterns because you know that they exist. Most people do not know they exist. All right, take a minute and just feel it. What is your I can't feeling physically? And if you say I can't feel it and you're numb, that's a feeling too. Numbing out is a feeling. Notice the numbness if that's you. Take another big deep breath in, only this time, let your eyes roll up to the ceiling. Breathe in. Stay in the feeling, let that pain be there for you. Let that discomfort be there. Eyes rolling up, big deep breath. Hold it, let that feeling be there, let it get bigger, and now let it out. And let your head roll down and your eyes roll down. Start to notice how that sensation might even be a little bit less, just the tiniest bit. Take a second and think about something you want to do in your life and notice if just right now it feels slightly different. Like maybe you could, maybe. I'm not saying totally, but just the tiniest bit. Okay, let's do it one more time. Take your I can't feeling. I can't because. Notice it. Now you're starting to get familiar. You're doing so well already. Get familiar with it. Let your eyes drop down, not closed, but just kind of down. Like connect with that physical sensation. Be like, hey, I see you. I know you're here. I know that you're actually trying to keep me safe. I don't really like it, but I get it now. I'm aware. We kind of been doing this thing together, but maybe it's time to change a little bit. Okay. So big deep breath in, focus on that sensation. Let your eyes roll up. And now tick-tock them across the ceiling, a little left, a little right, across the ceiling. And you may notice, hold your breath, you may notice that it's a little sore up there. Let the air out, but keep your eyes up. Big deep breath in again. Tick-tock left and right across the ceiling. Kind of keep your chin down. Breathe. And go ahead and let that I can't feeling be there as much as it is, whatever it is for you, whatever the reason. Good, and let it out. Let your head come down and your eyes rest. Start to notice, is that feeling still I can't? Or is it now something else? Maybe just a little something else. Maybe just a tiny bit. All right, notice that I can't feeling again. You know, all your reasons. Maybe your reasons is I'm too ashamed. I feel guilty. Maybe I just don't give a crap. Maybe I'm just in grief. I've got this grief in my life. Maybe I'm so afraid. Maybe it's just I'm so disappointed all the time when things don't work out. Maybe it's because I am so pissed off at my parents. I just can't move. Maybe it's that you're kind of in judgment at other people. You know, I'm a little proud here. I'm not going to say I'm sorry. I'm not going to, be nice to them. Maybe you're at courage. Maybe you're like, I want to. I'm so ready, but maybe I can't. but I want to, but I can't, but I want to, but I can't. Notice what it is for you. If any of those hit, let it be there again. Take a big deep breath in and move your eyes hard right. Just let them move to the right. And I mean, look, focus hard right to keep your head straight. Just reach those eyes to the right. Let the air out and come back to neutral. Center. Do it again. Big deep breath in again and let your eyes move hard left, feeling every reason that you can't. Good, and bring it back to center. And let your eyes rest again and notice, is it a little different? Now we've gone through multiple layers of letting yourself look at your I can't. And notice what's different. If you try to go back to it again, are you having a little bit of a problem finding it? Okay, you guys, you just experienced an access into your own nervous system, utilizing the eyes to affect the brain and the spinal cord, utilizing this sensation to signal the nervous system that maybe that pattern isn't exactly as resourceful as you thought it was. This is called Cognomovement. These are just a couple of the little beginner steps that we use to change this neurology. Now, imagine if you could move up that scale, even up into acceptance or willingness, how the reality that you're experiencing would be completely different. You would shift your reality, not even 100%, not even 360 degrees or 180 degrees, but literally into a new dimension. Imagine what you would be able to do if you felt optimistic and hopeful all the time, or if everything had meaning, if you understood everything, or you were in reverence. Imagine what that would be like. So you don't really have to imagine. Starting on the April 20th, 2024, we're beginning a 5-month class where it's once a month, where we hit these levels and absolutely delete them out of your nervous system with a system we call Cognomovement that is expert at re-educating your nervous system. We're starting at shame. We're going to go to courage over the next 5 months. At the end of that 5 months, for those who want to, is our massive event. It's called Cogno Conscious. And that's where over 5 days, we take you from shame through to enlightenment. But if you've already pre-gamed these 5 months before it, you will already be at a much higher level when you start. Wherever you start, you can reach a higher level. So this pre-game, it's one Saturday a month for the next 5 months. We'll end up at courage, and you will have cleared out of your neurological system these lower level energies that are keeping you in a lower level reality. I want you to join us. If you can hear me, I want you to come to these online classes where you can kick these things out of your life and be able to witness reality, be able to become who you really are on the planet now. It's at cognomovement.com/upcoming events. Just go to Cognomovement, click on the upcoming events, and you can see how to be a part of this event. Do it now so you don't miss the classes. If you're hearing this later, after the class has already started, you can jump in at any time and get a replay of the ones that you've missed. All right, I'm Liz Larson with Cognomovement. Until next week, be safe and be well, and continue to be, more than anything, aware.